Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The X-Files. This is David, and the episode we're covering tonight is the 8th episode of the first season, Ice. Now, this is another Monster of the Week episode. It's not a myth arc. And the monster in this one is a little interesting. It is a parasite that can take over your body in a very strange sort of way. It's not like a mind control parasite per se, but it does affect. It does affect your mood. This is the most effective use of a parasite controlling someone I've ever seen in science fiction thus far. It's very accurate to what an actual parasitic infection does to something. So it doesn't take you over. Like, it isn't in control. It isn't running your body. However, what it is doing is it's tapped into one of the glands in your brain and is making you secrete an insane amount of the hormone or whatever that controls aggression. So you become incredibly aggressive to the point where you start seeing everyone else as a threat, which is a instinct all animals pretty much have. Now, normally for when most of the social type animals, humans and any other sort of pack mentality animal, you might have aggression to an outsider, a foreigner, or someone who is different than you. But your own family you tend to accept. But this apparently ramps it up till it's even people you could trust, you will start doubting. And that's very in line with what parasites can do. A lot of times in science fiction, there'll be a parasite that possesses someone and takes over their body, like a demon would if it possessed you. And parasites don't work that way. I mean, they can kind of do that in very simple things. There are types of parasites that can possess people or not possess people, but possess like ants or other relatively simple creatures, caterpillars and whatnot. But to actively control a human, our brains are far too complex for a simple organism to control like that. That being said, this episode is very good in my opinion. Parasite, again, makes you excrete a large amount of rage, basically, and you tend to kill those other people around you. This episode picks up with the last transmission of an outpost, of this man saying, "We are not who we are." It's the last transmission they get, and there's violence, and both of the men are seen on camera dead. They're sending in a team to go check it out. Fox and Dana are being sent in, along with Dr. Hodge, Dr. Salva, and Dr. Murphy, as well as Bear, who's the pilot. There's a toxicology expert, a geologist, and a physician. Figure out what happened. They get there, they're attacked by a dog. Mulder and Bear both get messed up. And they notice there's something wrong with the dog. There's nodules on its skin, and they notice something moving under the skin. They put the dog in quarantine, and Bear immediately starts freaking out. Well, Bear doesn't start freaking out just yet. Mulder starts poking around. He finds some ice cores. He finds some very unusual ice cores that have very high levels of ammonia, higher than can be found on Earth. Naturally, and from like 250,000 years ago. Bear starts getting increasingly worried, and the others start thinking about, well, maybe this infection could spread, so we got to check in to see what's going on with that, because they do check the samples and they find microbes in the water or in the stuff. So when they ask Bear for a stool sample, basically, he attacks Mulder. They pin him down. They see something crawling under his skin, and they try to surgically remove it from the back of his neck. They remove it, but in removing it, it kills him. It releases a toxin that kills him. They find this worm. It looks like a mealyworm, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And there's a lot of paranoia going around. Time goes by. They quarantine themselves. The geologist analyzes the stuff, says they were digging way deeper than they should have been digging, so they were probably digging a meteor crater. And that, excuse me, that the ammonia, basically explains the ammonia levels in this are way too high, and the samples are melting because the refrigeration's off. Geologist gets killed by someone. Mulder posits that the worms are extraterrestrial in nature. They find the body. They find Mulder over the body because he found it after he heard a noise outside of his room. They accuse Mulder of killing him. Mulder accuses them of killing him. Scully pulls a gun on him. He starts yelling at Scully, so they quarantine Mulder. Meanwhile, the two other remaining doctors are doing research. One of the doctors accidentally cross-contaminates the blood, and they find that putting two worms together from different sources will kill each other. So that's a good thing they found out. They found out how to cure it. They still think Mulder's infected, so they're going to put the worm that they have. They test it out by putting a worm inside the dog, which they do, and it makes the dog fine, and it basically passes the worm in its excrement. And they find that they're going to put it in Mulder. Come to find out, it is the other doctor, Dr. De Silva, that is infected. They end up pinning her down, giving her the thing, and she gets cured. They eventually do get extracted. They go into a quarantine, and they find out Mulder's planning on going back there, but he finds out right after they get back that the government wanted to burn the site down. So we're left on that question of what will we do when we find this thing again, because it exists and it's down there somewhere in the deep waiting. This episode's very good. It's very tense, very dramatic, and you don't know who's infected. It's very much like John Carpenter's The Thing. I'm a big fan of that movie. I'm a big fan of this episode. This isn't a must-see for the storyline, but I say this is a must-see for Season 1. I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite episodes of this season, and it's all around just a very good episode. And the last couple episodes we've had have been kind of lackluster. This one really picks up the slack. So definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it before, check out Ice. Alright folks, next week, or next time, whenever this gets posted, we'll be tuning in for the episode Space. Alright, talk to you then.